Hello, Game Boys and Game Girls. I'm the Game Boy Guru, and welcome to a bit of an update video, sort of off the cuff. I'm just kind of going to be doing this off the top of my head. Wanted to tell you guys about just a few things going on and give you guys a basic update. So, first of all, for those of you who follow my channel but have also been following my blog, you'll know that I haven't posted a new review or even just a post on the blog in several months. A lot of that is due to the fact that uh, toward the end of last year, I was getting ready to move. I was kind of wrapping up my old job, and so I spent the last 2 months of the year just packing up the house and doing all of that. And so I didn't really have time to play any new Game Boy games or write any reviews. The other reason is, of course, once I got to the new place, I've had to spend a lot of time unpacking and getting things set up. Of course, the game room here, for those that haven't watched the re-unboxing series, go do that after you watch this video. But I spent a lot of time unpacking, organizing, shelving, all of that stuff. And then I've had some gaming stuff just for me personally that I kind of wanted to do and catch up on once I got my setup done, both here and in my living room where my TVs and my game systems are set up. So I haven't done any new Game Boy reviews for those reasons. The other reason is because I'm trying to catch up with the videos to work my way through all the reviews that I have now so that I can, as I've mentioned before, kind of start to do a scenario where I have a written review of a new game that I'm covering. And then once I post that, then I go back and I do a video of the previous review. So I can kind of always keep it in a cycle. Um, I'm not to that point yet, but because I've been doing more dramatic readings videos, I've been trying to kind of catch up with it. And so that's my goal right now. Um, there are a couple of games that I'd like to get done with reviewing. I played Final Fantasy Adventure in the last half of the year and was actually on the RF Generation Playcast talking about that game since it was the first Game Boy game they had covered on the podcast. And my original intention was to then, within the couple of weeks following that, take all of the, or kind of go through my tweets where I had sort of live tweeted screenshots or photos of me playing the game on the Game Boy Player and incorporate those into the review and do that. But it wasn't long after that that I started packing up my stuff, and so I kind of needed to put that on hold. I'm at the point now where it's been long enough that I would probably need to go back and at least play a little bit to refresh my memory and capture some new screenshots because, of course, those tweets are all 6 months old or more. So, what I'll probably end up doing is going and replaying that one partially, so I can capture footage, grab screenshots, etc., to allow me to be a bit more effective at writing the review, refreshing my memory, all of that. But again, my goal is to get the videos caught up so that then I can go back and refocus on the blog and the videos in tandem with one another. And so I may do a blog post just to kind of better explain that. But anyway, that's the reason why you haven't seen anything new on the blog. Um, I've been busy with getting things set up at the new place here, kind of getting into a routine at work, and then just doing some gaming for me. As far as the channel, there are a couple things I want to do with the channel specifically. I'd like to get more into doing some non Game Boy things. Game Boy is going to remain the focus, but I do play other things. Those who follow me on Twitter have seen me tweet about all kinds of other games. Um, and so I'd like to start doing some things like I think I mentioned this before in a previous update video, but something called Guru Gaiden, where it's sort of stuff that's off to the side. It's not Game Boy related, but it's stuff I want to talk about. I'd also like to do a series called Guru's Favorites or something along those lines, where I talk about some of my favorite games from the past that I just want to highlight because they're favorites. Um, things like that. I also want to start a bit of a vlog where it's a little bit more like this, where it's off the cuff, less scripted, and that sort of thing, where I just kind of pick a topic or two and kind of ramble on about that topic while I open up and clean Game Boy cards. And so, or NES cards, Genesis cards, whatever. Just an opportunity for me to clean my games while also doing something semi-productive otherwise. And so it'll just be maybe a fun way for me to kind of discuss and talk about some topics that otherwise would maybe not be relevant for the channel quite so much. Um, so that's something that I'd like to do, and I'm trying to get myself set up with the equipment that I'll be able to start capturing footage from other games, um, so that I can start to do videos of stuff other than simple Game Boy games. Speaking of equipment to capture footage and that leads me into, I guess, the next topic. I'm building a gaming rig for my living room, and I'm trying to do it on the cheap. My boss is helping me out with getting me a motherboard and processor and all of that stuff inexpensively. I've got a machine that he built, and he's going to help me with some upgrades. But it's going to be not a super beefy machine, but it's going to have some power behind it. And what I'm hoping to do is to hook this thing up to my 1080p TV, so it will be 1080p strictly speaking. I'm looking to put in a GTX 1060 6 GB card um, that will almost guarantee me 1080p 60 frames per second on most any modern game at high or ultra high settings or whatever. I'm not worried about 4K. I have no plans to buy a 4K TV. Um, and certainly no need for it because there's just not enough content. I only just got a PlayStation 4, and I don't even think it won't even do 4K gaming. It'll do some 4K video, I think maybe, but I'm just not concerned about 4K. Uh, but yeah, and then I'm looking at getting an Elgato HD60 Pro internal capture card. And then what I'm hoping to do over the course of time is I want to get an analog Super NT um, that I can then use the Game Boy Player or Game Boy Player 2 if I can score one to start doing my capture for video or for Game Boy footage, especially for Super Game Boy games. And then I also have a GameCube with Game Boy Player that I've had for years, and I'd like to buy one of those Eon GCHD adapters so that I can output directly to HDMI, and then I can run that through a splitter and put the signal up on one TV and then the other signal through that capture device or the capture card. And that way I can start capturing Game Boy footage that way as well. Ultimately, what I'd like to be able to do is start streaming some Game Boy games. But then again, that's going to help me start streaming some other stuff as well. I've got PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Wii U, Switch, and then of course I mentioned the Super NT and Game Boy Player. So that already opens up a wealth of systems for me to be able to stream, including original PlayStation games that'll play on the PS3. um, and if I can get it working, even original Xbox games that will play on the 360. So there's a lot of possibilities there. And then, of course, I'm looking at uh, eventually getting something like an OSSC that will allow me to hook up other systems as well via either a SCART cable or I can do what's it component video, so I can do things like the PS2, um, and I can also do. There's a VGA port on that, so I can stream Dreamcast that way. And so lots of possibilities. It's something I want to start doing, streaming here on YouTube and on Twitch, um, and just really to start using that to capture footage and expand the possibilities of this channel. Um, One other thing I'm doing that's apart from all of that is in June, I'm starting up via rfgeneration.com. And if you're not a member, go check it out. It's I contribute to the site monthly with an article or video. There's lots of great writers on the site that write about all kinds of things, classic games, indie games. They do movie and book reviews that are related to gaming in some way, and lots of cool stuff. Plus, their database is huge, and that's how I catalog all my games. I am Metal Fro on RF Generation because I've been there, I think, 4 years now, um, over 4 years. And anyway, that was before I started the Game Boy Guru project. But go check it out. But I'm going to be starting a monthly shmup club. I'm a big fan of shmups, and I've gathered myself quite a collection of them over the last, I'd say, 25 years. And so I need to start playing some of these games and getting a little bit more life out of them. So I'm going to start actually doing some of that via the Shmup Club. So, similar to the RF Generation Playcast and the monthly playthrough, where um, Single Banana and Grey Ghost 81 pick a game and then people play along with it and discuss on the forums. In similar fashion, I'm going to be hosting a shmup playthrough where we'll pick a shmup, or in some cases it might be a couple of games if they're simpler, sort of like Atari 2600 or ColecoVision and television type of games, and do comparisons or whatever. But we'll pick a game, we'll play through it for the month, not necessarily to complete the game. And it's not really about bragging rights that you were able to one credit clear something or whatever. It's more just play the game, have fun with it, uh, you know, on the forums, then discuss uh, the game and talk strategy, talk about what you like about the game, what you don't like, and just discuss the game as a whole. Also share scores and possibly sometimes do high score competitions and fun things like that. So anyway, it's starting in June. The first game is going to be R-Type, and there's lots of ways to play it. Of course, there's a Game Boy version which I'll be playing along with, so I can do comparisons. But it's on the Sega Master System that received a very good port. TurboGrafx received a port. There's the R-Types collection for the original PlayStation that has R-Type and R-Type 2, um, essentially arcade perfect ports. And then there's also R-Type Dimensions on PS3 and 360 that takes R-Type 1 and 2 and updates them with new graphics and new soundtracks, but with still the option to toggle the classic graphics and soundtrack so that you essentially are still playing an arcade conversion of the game. I'm going to be picking that one up. I have R-Types, and that's probably what I'll spend the most time with. But I'll probably be picking up R-Type Dimensions so I can check that out and do some comparison to see how it plays, um, as compared with the arcade original. So R-Type will be the first game starting in June. There'll be an official announcement going up on rfgeneration.com here in a couple 3 days, and then I'll post a thread um, right about that time, probably toward the middle of next week or middle of this week, I should say, um, officially announcing it. But yeah, Shmup Club. And so um, one of the things I want to do with that is also to do a podcast. So similar to the ARF Generation Playcast, um, just having a podcast where we talk about the game that we played during the previous month. And right now, I don't have anyone to host the podcast with me, so I'm kicking around the idea of either recording it myself and then just asking someone to be a guest on the podcast each month um, in order to discuss the game, or maybe waiting until I can find a solid co-host who wants to do a podcast, and then we just record once a month and talk about the game that we played and do it that way. So I haven't decided yet how I want to do that. I may wait until I get a couple of months in and see what the response is like. But yeah, if you're not already on rfgeneration.com as a member, I would encourage you to go check it out and go sign up. The forums are great. There are some cool discussions that we've had on there. A couple of games that we play in the forum, like the screenshot identifying game, and there's a word association game that we play. Plus, there's a thread for showing off all your fun pickups and things like that. So cool stuff. And then, of course, the playthroughs. So check that out. And even if you're not a member, I'll be talking about the the shmups that we're playing, probably offhand on the channel from time to time. So feel free to let me know what you're playing and what shmups you're enjoying as well, if you're not playing along with whatever it is that I'm doing. Anyway, thanks for watching. Just wanted to let you guys know kind of what's going on a little bit here and there, and give you guys kind of a basic update of what I'm doing with the channel and the blog and what stuff I'm coming down the pike. Thanks a lot.